Hello, it's Electra Snow, and as you can see, today we're going to be doing another Joker tutorial. This one's a little bit more along the cartoon version, and it's a hell of a lot more creepy than the last one that I did. Because as you can see at the start of this video, that's a Jared Leto version there, and we're going to be transforming him into a living cartoon. I just started by removing the tattoos and the neck tattoos, and then I took off the lipstick, and then went in with some liquid latex and cotton wool. I used the liquid latex and cotton to build up a creepy grinning pair of lips. I applied 2 thick layers of this for the lips, allowing each one to dry in between the layers, but also making sure that they were fully saturated so they were much easier to mould. Once I had the grin how I wanted it, it's the same concept of using liquid latex and cotton to apply chubby little grinning cheeks. I built these up higher to the outside proportions of my face and thinned them out as they got towards the nose, just as they would as if you were forming them with natural smiles. Or extreme ones in the Joker's case. I then took 1 layer of tissue paper and applied it over the top of the cheek to get a slightly more smoother but wrinkled texture to make it look more like crazy aged skin. And then following that same technique, I repeated that process on the other side. Onto the forehead, I laid down some liquid latex with my finger and then taking some sausages of cotton wool, pushed them into it, and these are going to be formed into his eyebrows. To begin with here, they do look quite thick, but once they've been saturated with more liquid latex, they can be easily moulded into any shape that you want with the end of a makeup brush, or any other blunt object you have to hand. I decided to give him some really arched eyebrows that look really extreme with the creepy grin that he has on his face. And I made them a little bit different, like he was kind of raising one a little higher than the other to give his face a little bit more expression. When I have them how I want them, it's time to go in with a little bit more liquid latex and get that texture going on all over the face that's kind of aged, wrinkly and dishevelled, worn makeup look. And to achieve this, instead of going in with latex and pulling the skin and then letting it dry to do old age makeup, I just laid down some latex, then applied 1 ply of tissue into it and then saturated that with my finger, really rubbing it in so the tissue almost started to break up, and then allowing that to dry, and it gives a nice, wrinkly, horrible texture to the skin. Then for all of the areas of latex that are going to be his skin, I used a MAC white acrylic paint and I used that as his foundation colour. To fill in the lip colour, I used the BarryM liquid lipstick, filling them in entirely and bringing out the top corners to accentuate the grin further. Being as the face is now completely white, you can see that a lot of the features have kind of been flattened out. So I'm just using a dark cream foundation and I'm using that to add a little bit more depth back into the face. To fill in the brows, I used 2 more acrylic paints by MAC in landscape green and black, mixing these together to make an alpine green and using the landscape green acrylic paint in certain areas to add some small highlights. For his pointy nose, I decided not to just contour it, but apply some more liquid latex and cotton to make a nice pointy, larger nose in a shape that I was happy with. Now kind of ignore this part that I'm doing here, because in the first place I did decide to make this look a little bit more pop arty, kind of exactly as it is drawn in the cartoons. It's got very dark, thick black lines and everything's kind of like dark and grimy, but in the end I decided to go over these and blend them into the skin a little bit more, so it looked a little bit more lifelike and a slightly bit more like a ornate, realistic cartoon instead of just pop art. But if you wanted to keep it that way, I just used a black water-activated face paint, applied wrinkles, and filled in my neck to make his face slimmer. Because nobody's got a face like that, really, in real life. I filled in all around my mouth area, which would be the inside of his mouth, with a pink lipstick, and then I went in with more of that white acrylic paint by MAC, and I used that to draw in teeth. Now these teeth I did in the first place, I did quite small, but then I accentuated his grin further to make it look like he was really grinding his teeth, and smiling excessively like a psychopath. Now this tutorial was very much like actually drawing a painting for me, apart from it actually being on my face, and this is a part where I went in and blended those lines in a little bit further and accentuated the art to be a little bit more how I wanted to see it. This is the thing when you're doing stuff like this, you want to do it until you're happy with it, applying things here and there and customizing it to what you're pleased with seeing. This is just a point where I actually went in with some white cream face paint and I applied that over the top of those lines to blend them into the skin to look like they were actually in the skin itself and not sitting on top of it. Old habits die hard for me. When I'm trying to do something look cartoony, I always go back into default of making it look as realistic as possible. But with this, I tried to keep it more cartoony-ish, and I mean, that's what counts. right? And in the end result, I made sure that I made his face look kind of waxy, kind of like his face is melting, the makeup's been on there for a while, because this prosthetic that I've made here leads into another transformation that I've got coming very, very soon. And that part there is a big, big clue. But yeah guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. All of the products that I've used in this video will of course be listed down in the description below. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and until next time, bye bye.